You want to know how a marriage ends? Not with tears, not with screaming, with a PDF and a subject line that reads, "Let's be adults about this." My name's Logan Miller, 41 years old, Staff Sergeant with the US Marines, stationed in Al-Taqadum, Iraq. It was a slow afternoon after patrol, just me in the desert heat when I hopped open my laptop to check emails. I wasn't expecting anything life-changing, but then I saw it. Subject, "Let's be adults about this." 3 sentences. That's all it took to end 13 years of marriage. She'd filed for divorce. She'd emptied our joint bank account. Her new boyfriend, Kyle, had moved into our home in Tucson, Arizona, the one I renovated with my bare hands between deployments. I stared at the screen, feeling nothing. No panic, no heartbreak, just silence. I closed the laptop, splashed water on my face in the communal shower, pulled on my uniform and walked out like nothing happened. That night, I replied with one word: understood. No drama, no begging, just closure. Ruiz, my bunkmate, noticed the shift. "You good, man? Just stuff back home." He nodded. "In the military, pain is sacred. You don't poke at it unless invited. But deep down, I knew this wasn't just a breakup. It was war. And if Lindsay thought I'd go down easy, she never knew the man she married." When they expect you to break, let your silence scare them instead. That night, after hitting send on my one-word reply, understood, I didn't punch walls, didn't grab a bottle, didn't cry. I just laid there in my bunk at Al-Taqadum, staring at the ceiling fan spinning like a countdown clock. I didn't need closure. I needed a plan. Next morning in the mess hall, I opened our bank app while guys joked over eggs and coffee. $17, that's what was left. She cleaned us out, close to 90 grand. And that's when it clicked. This wasn't a breakup. This was an ambush. I didn't say a word. But that night, I hit the secured comm center and called our bank in Tucson. The rep confirmed what I already suspected. Lindsay had been draining our account for weeks. Small amounts, then bigger ones. The real fun started the day I deployed. Was I angry? Nah, I was focused. The same kind of clarity you get right before going into hostile territory. Back at my bunk, I logged into our home security system. Still live, still running. And there he was, Kyle, wearing my Seahawks hoodie, sipping from my mug, walking my dog. She didn't just leave me, she replaced me. No screaming, no gunshots, just a quiet, methodical coup. I didn't call Lindsay. I didn't text. I opened notes on my phone and started making a list of what I was going to do and what she was about to lose. Betrayal doesn't begin with a kiss. It starts with the look they give you, like you're no longer even there. About 6 weeks before my deployment to Iraq, Lindsay began to change. Not all at once. More like a slow leak in the hull. Subtle at first, until you realize you're sinking. She stopped asking about my day. Instead, she sat on the couch, scrolling her phone, locking the screen every time I walked in. "You okay?" I asked one night. "Just tired," she said, eyes glued to the floor. Then came the late-night shifts at the dental clinic. Weekends, too. Except she never looked tired. New clothes, full makeup, heels instead of sneakers, and something colder in her eyes, a kind of distance I couldn't reach. I didn't snoop through her phone. I didn't follow her. That's not who I am. But I've done enough tours to know, when something's coming, you feel it in your bones. So I started prepping, not out of jealousy, out of instinct, out of discipline, out of self-preservation. I gathered important documents. Birth certificates, our marriage license, the house deed, still in my name thanks to the VA loan, my military benefits paperwork, and placed them in a private storage unit across town. I moved my grandfather's watch and my mother's old silverware, heirlooms that meant more than money, into that same unit. Then I opened a private bank account, different institution, no shared access. Every paycheck, I redirected just a little. Not enough to draw attention, just enough so I wouldn't be flat broke if the ground dropped out from under me. The day I left, Lindsay hugged me like she was saying goodbye to a coworker, not a husband headed to war. "Stay safe, okay?" Her voice was flat, her eyes dry as sand. I wanted to believe I was overthinking it. Stress, loneliness, burnout. But the part of me that's worn a uniform since I was 22, that part knew. And it wasn't wrong. You don't prepare because you expect betrayal. You prepare so that when it comes, it doesn't destroy you. I wouldn't call what I did paranoia. I'd call it survival. Lindsay didn't need to say a word. Her distance, her silence, her careful absences said it for her. And I made a decision. If something went down, I wasn't going down with it. Not again. So I started turning instinct into action. First, a private storage unit on the west side of Tucson. Not in her name. Not tied to any shared address. Just mine. Inside it, I placed the essentials. Birth certificate, marriage license, house deed, solely under my name thanks to the VA loan, military benefits documents, life insurance papers. The irreplaceables, my grandfather's War II pocket watch from the Pacific Theatre and my mother's antique silver set, the last thing she gave me before the cancer took her. Those things weren't valuable to anyone else, but to me, they were legacy, and I wasn't about to let them sit in a house I wasn't sure I belonged in anymore. Next, a private checking account at a small local credit union, the kind that didn't ask questions if you walked in with military ID and needed discretion. I opened it on my lunch break in civilian clothes, using my temporary base mailing address. I started sliding 18% of every paycheck into that account, just enough to rebuild if everything else crumbled. Not enough for her to notice. I didn't tell anyone, not my closest buddy, not my squad. Silence was my armor. Meanwhile, Lindsay kept coming home late. She kept having girls' nights with people I'd never met. She kept showing up with shopping bags she never explained. I didn't ask. I didn't beg. I didn't accuse. I pulled back. I watched and I prepared. There's a saying in the Corps, hope for the best, plan for the worst. I'd stopped hoping. Now I had a plan. When they think they've broken you, that's when the real game begins. Not with tears, but with tactics. 2 weeks after that divorce email, I was in the mess hall, halfway through a dry chicken breast when my phone buzzed. Bank notification. I opened the app. $17.34. That's what was left in the joint account. Almost $90,000 gone. Just like that. I set my fork down, took a breath, didn't curse, didn't panic, didn't act like a man scorned. I acted like a Marine. That night I headed to the comms center and requested a secure line to call my bank. The rep pulled the transaction history. It looks like there were a series of withdrawals, she said. Started small, got larger over time. Can you send me a copy? She hesitated. I kept my voice calm. This account is under my name. She wasn't authorized to clean it out. Minutes later, I had a full export of every transaction, downloaded to an encrypted military USB stick. Back at the barracks, I didn't sleep. I opened my laptop and tapped into the home security system. The video feed was grainy, but clear enough to see Kyle, some guy I'd never seen before, walking my dog in my backyard, wearing my Seahawks hoodie. Inside the house, Lindsay was laughing in the kitchen. I didn't get angry. I got cold. That's the thing about combat veterans. We don't explode. We calculate. Next morning, I opened a notebook and wrote out a 5-step plan. Call James, former squad mate, now a lawyer in Phoenix. Review VA loan terms on sole property ownership. Double-check the security of my military pension. Order a complete financial audit of the past 6 months. Begin prep for emergency leave, just in case. Nobody knew what I was doing, because this plan wasn't for sympathy. It was for justice. What hurts more than being replaced? Watching it happen inside the home you bled to build. I sat in the barracks, huddled over my laptop, dim yellow lights, lagging Wi-Fi, but the image on screen was sharp enough to punch a hole straight through me. A stranger, Travis, walked my backyard like he owned it. He was walking Diesel, the dog I'd raised since he was a pup. He was wearing my grey Seahawks hoodie, the one Lindsay used to hand wash because she said machines would ruin the stitching. In his hand, my Okinawa coffee mug. I'd bought it in 2013 during my tour in Japan, used it every morning. Now he was drinking from it, in my house, the one I spent 2 years renovating, brick by damn brick. In the kitchen, Lindsay was laughing, not a hint of guilt, no hesitation. She had chosen him. But the cold creeping down my spine wasn't about Lindsay. It was about me, for letting this happen, for trusting her when my gut screamed otherwise. I closed the laptop, but the images looped in my brain like a black and white reel with no end. I didn't scream. I didn't rage. I wrote. I planned. The next morning I called James Parker, ex-Marine, now an attorney specializing in military asset protection. "Jake," he answered, "you sound like you're about to pull the pin." "Not yet," I said, "but my hand's on it." I told him everything. No fluff, no filter. He was quiet for a beat. You got the bank records and the security footage? Every bite of it. Send it over. Keep your head down. Don't confront her. We do this by the book. I nodded, and for the first time in weeks, I didn't feel alone. And I knew, deep down, they broke into the wrong house and crossed the wrong marine. Betrayal's bad, but using you to cash in, that's not heartbreak. That's criminal. James called me less than 24 hours after I sent over the documents. You sitting down? He asked. I am. Good, because what I'm about to say might make you want to punch through drywall. I heard paper rustling on his end. James was the kind of lawyer who read every line, chased every comma. There's a refinance loan application dated 3 months ago. Amount $330,000. It's on your house. VA backed. But the signature, it's not yours. I clenched my jaw. Forged? Not exactly. Imitated. They tried to mimic your signature, but it's sloppy. Wrong middle initial, stroke patterns off. I let the silence hang. Who else is on the document? Travis, listed as a co-applicant. I took a breath. So Lindsay forged my name to pull $330K from a house that's in my name and brought him in on it. There's more, James said, voice dipping low. Travis has a record. 2 DUIs, 1 fraud charge back in 2019, and the real estate agent listed, Daniel Spencer. I ran a search. He's worked with Travis before. At least 3 prior home sales, all below market value. It stinks. I leaned against the wall. The pieces started clicking into place. This wasn't infidelity. This was an operation. And I was the mark. What do? I asked. You decide what you want. Burn it all down or just reclaim what's yours? Both, I said. No hesitation. Not everyone who betrays you holds the knife. Some just unlock the door for the one who stabs you. James sent me a thick PDF along with a message that read, You wanted proof? Here's the whole damn web. I opened the file. Every transaction, every connection between Travis and David Spencer lined up like a financial crime scene. 3 homes, Tucson, Phoenix, Flagstaff, all sold under market value, all involving Spencer, all linked to women with deployed military spouses. I took a long pull from a cup of cold coffee. Lindsay wasn't a victim. She was either willfully blind or complicit. Spencer was slick, flashy real estate agent with a reputation for fast cash closings and 7-day turnarounds. But James had uncovered the truth. He enabled Travis to get on the deed, push a quick sale at a loss, then split the under-the-table profits. And Travis? He was the battering ram. He'd slide into a vulnerable woman's life, earn her trust, then gut the foundation beneath her feet. I leaned against the wall of the barracks, sunlight bleeding through the metal slats. They hadn't just taken money. They'd taken my life, brick by brick. The house, the honor, the trust. And they thought I wouldn't come back for it? I called James. What's next? His voice came through like cold steel. We set the trap, and this time we let the feds bag the whole crew. I thought I was the casualty of a broken marriage, until I realized I was just one of many soldiers being targeted. Lindsay wasn't lost. She was part of the mechanism. I sat alone in the watchroom, face bathed in the pale glow of my laptop. The file James sent me, transaction logs, real estate transfers, linked addresses, looked less like betrayal and more like a playbook run on repeat. I zoomed in on the timeline. Each hit happened right after a deployment. Every victim? A service member. Every move? The same. Drain the cash, forge the name, sell the house, vanish. And I knew then, without a shred of doubt, Travis wasn't Lindsay's boyfriend. He was the job, and I was the next checkmark on his list. I remembered what James had said. They don't pick random. They pick military. Because you can't come home mid-deployment, because the law isn't fast enough to catch fraud while you're halfway around the world. I clenched my fists. I've guarded borders in combat zones. Now I had to guard my own damn front door. I shot an email to James. Subject line, FBI time to talk. 1 hour later, he replied, They're already investigating. Your case might be the keystone that cracks this open. This wasn't about Lindsay anymore. It wasn't about heartbreak. This was war, and it was time to counterattack. They thought I was still halfway across the world, but the truth was I was back, quiet, prepared, and not alone. I landed in Tucson, Arizona on a grey Monday morning. No warning, no messages to Lindsay. Checked into a cheap roadside motel, fake name, cash payment, no paper trail. My backpack had 3 things: my laptop, legal copies, and a plan to end this once and for all. Next day, I met James at a diner out by the interstate. He slid a folder across the table. Bank records, mortgage docs, signature analysis. And he pulled out a single-page filing, temporary injunction to block any sale on the property. I nodded. "What about Spencer and Travis?" James smirked. "Tomorrow we let them hang themselves." The following morning we parked 2 blocks from my old house. The security system still live. I never revoked my access. 8:44 a.m, Spencer's real estate SUV pulls into the driveway. Travis gets out, crisp white shirt, folder in hand. 8:51, they enter the house. I open the feed. Spencer's snapping photos. Travis is pointing at the kitchen island, the one I built with my own hands between deployments. James hit record on his phone. I sent the live stream to Agent Patel at the FBI, captioned, "Happening now." 9:17, 5 blacked-out SUVs rolled up silently. 9:20, the front door flew open. FBI agents flooded the place. I sat in the car, watching from the mirror, as Travis and Spencer were cuffed and led out like thieves in broad daylight. In front of the house they were trying to steal from me. No screaming, no gunfire. Just justice, by the book, right on schedule. Forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting. Sometimes it just means closing the door, so they can't hurt you anymore. 3 days after the raid, I got a call from Agent Patel. "Jake, we need your input. Lindsay is cooperating. She's agreed to repay the full amount, sign a sworn statement admitting the forgery, and surrender all claims to the property. Do you want to press charges?" I stood by the motel window, phone to my ear, staring out at the dust-blown Tucson skyline. My mind just as hazy. I thought of everything: the house, the forged papers, her dry goodbye at the airport, that grin on the kitchen cam when Travis waltzed in like he owned the place. I sat down. My voice came out calm, almost eerily so. "No, I don't need her behind bars. I just need everything put right." 3 weeks later, James handed me the settlement. Lindsay's signed affidavit admitting to the forgery, full restitution wired to my private account. She waived all rights to the house and my military pension, no appeals, no countersuits, just legal closure. That evening, I drove past the old house. Just once, just to see it. The place I used to call home, now just a structure, brick, glass, and broken echoes. I didn't knock. I didn't need a confrontation. I'd taken back what was mine. The rest, let the law and the past keep it. They expected rage, collapse, a man undone. But I didn't need noise to win. I needed law and time. I didn't lose my mind. No smashing furniture, no courtroom screaming, no wild threats or drunken voicemails. I let the system work. I let the facts speak. And day by day, I took back everything they thought I was too far away to protect. I reclaimed the house, recovered every stolen dollar, secured my military retirement, every asset still in my name. Lindsay? No claim. No rights. No way back. I didn't feel triumphant. I felt calm, like the air after a storm. No cheering, just clarity. The day after the final settlement, James said, "You didn't lose your cool once." I nodded. Didn't need to. Justice doesn't require rage, just precision. Guys like Travis count on you falling apart. That's how they win, through chaos and manipulation. But I didn't play his game. I rewrote the rules, with documents, proof, and patience. I started this war for me, but somewhere along the line I realized I wasn't just fighting for justice. I was fighting for the ones who never got their shot. One crisp fall morning, my phone rang. Agent Patel. "Jake," she said, "the sentencing came in. Travis got 8 years. Spencer got 12. They confessed, and we've confirmed at least 11 more victims, all military families." I stood out on the porch of my rental apartment, wine brushing past my face. But it wasn't the breeze that gave me chills. It was the weight of the truth. This wasn't about just me. This was a targeted operation against people in uniform. I asked, "The other families, do they know?" Patel replied, "We're reaching out. Some of the spouses had no idea. Some of the service members still haven't come home yet." I was quiet for a beat. "So I was the first? You were the first to speak up, and because of that, the whole thing came down." I didn't feel triumphant. I felt relieved. Not because I'd won, but because the truth finally was out. Not every new life starts with a bang. Sometimes all you need is silence loud enough to finally hear yourself again. I officially retired from the military after 20 years on a quiet October morning. No ceremony, no speeches, just a firm handshake from my CO, a manila folder, and these words: "You did your part. Now go live for yourself." 3 weeks later, I was behind the wheel of my old pickup, heading toward the foothills of Wyoming, where I'd bought a small log cabin, tucked away on 10 acres, a creek out back, and no neighbors for 2 miles. That's where I started over. No schedule, no noise, just a woodshop, a German shepherd named Scout, and 2 hands that still remembered how to build something solid. Mornings, I sipped black coffee and watched the light spill across the ridgeline. Afternoons, I made tables and chairs for a store in town. Evenings, I'd jot down a few lines in an old notebook. Not a journal exactly, just proof that I was still here, still moving forward. No more calls from lawyers, no more cold emails from the woman who used to be my wife. No one walking my dog but me. I don't call it happiness, I call it peace. And for me, that's enough. You never know how far doing the right thing can reach until someone writes to thank you for saving what they almost lost. It was an April morning. The Wyoming sky was crystal clear, like it had never known chaos. I'd just finished cutting down a pine board in the workshop when Scout, my shepherd, started barking at the cabin door. There it was, a pale yellow envelope in the mailbox. No logo, no markings, just a handwritten line to Jake Briggs, Wyoming. I opened it and read, "You don't know me, but because of you, I still have my home. I'm the wife of a Navy officer stationed in Corpus Christi, Texas. I almost signed papers I didn't fully understand. The realtor was Spencer. The new friend I now know was Travis. But the FBI got to me in time. They said your name." I stopped. My chest tightened. Scout sat quietly by my boots. I read on, "Thank you for not exploding in rage. Thank you for standing your ground instead of falling apart. You didn't just protect your home, you protected mine and others you'll never even meet. Marisol Rivera, Texas." I read that letter twice, then a third time, and I pinned it to my fridge, not to brag, but to remember that sometimes quiet resolve can echo louder than any scream. It was late afternoon. I sat on the porch of the cabin, my back against the old pine slats, solid, weathered, honest. In my hand, a black cup of coffee, still steaming. At my feet, Scout, curled up like a small bonfire, quiet, loyal, and knowing exactly what I needed without a word. The wind moved gently through the pines, carrying sap and dry leaves and the scent of something old and clean. Out on the horizon, Wyoming, rough-edged and real, like the life I'd built. I'd lost everything once. Then I took it back, not with fists or fury, but with law, patience, and the quiet belief that justice doesn't always come fast, but it comes. I don't wear a uniform anymore, no rank, no stripes, but I'm still a soldier, because soldiers don't quit, they just choose their next battlefield, and this is mine now. Peace. A handmade chair, a cup of coffee no one can steal. Afternoons like this where I don't have to be made of stone anymore. I reached down and brushed Scout's head. He looked up, calm eyes steady like always, like he was saying, "We're good now. Yeah, we're good now."